Hi, I'm Val.
And I'm Mo with the Dostra team, coming back to you again with another episode. Today, what are we talking about, Val?
Yeah, today we're talking about distressed properties, when we should actually sell them, when we should invest back into them, and when we should hold the property.
Okay, so let's define a distressed property first, because I think that's kind of in itself a bit of a question mark. So, how would you define a distressed property?
Yeah, I would say anything that's beyond normal wear and tear on a property that requires a significant amount of money to reinvest in the property in order to bring it up to today's standards or code.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. So, if you can't get the photographs to look real nice, it's probably distressed property, right? If there's no makeup that's going to make it look good, paint's not going to cut it.
Sometimes they still don't look good after a few filters.
Touche.
You might have to drink a little bit more before that house looks good, and you want to go home to it tonight,
Touche. All right, cool. So there's variations, right? So you could have a distressed property that is fixable. You can have a distressed property that is unfortunately beyond repairs.
Yeah, and it typically depends on the exact type of property that we're talking about. We had to evaluate each property individually. So it's going to be dependent on where it's located at, what the actual land value is, what the home value is, and the structure that's there. And then that's how we kind of come up with a number together to see if it actually makes sense, if the pros are worth the cons.
Right, and the expense of the remodel
Exactly.
as well, because you have a lot of these neighborhoods, let's say in Austin, where you would actually have a house that you could totally fix up and put it back on the market, but somebody may want to buy it, tear it down, and build a $1 million little fresh home. So this is also where you kind of have to decide, do we put money into it or just sell it?
Yeah, exactly.
And
like I said, you had to individually go through the property and evaluate properly. And a lot goes into that. And it would be like location, what's coming around you.
Yes. Yes, the neighborhood.
Exactly. The neighborhood, or even if there's going to be a difference in zoning laws. Zoning laws play a huge factor into this as well, into what the home or the property can actually be used as.
True. Actually, I just had a closing on one, and it didn't have to be a distressed property. It was totally usable, but old. And zoning was a thing, because it was now commercially zoned, even though it was residentially grandfathered, because the owners had it way before the zoning had changed, and we ended up getting lucky and selling it off the market to a commercial buyer, which was the best case for this scenario, even though the house was still livable, and they were about to put new floors in, but again, weighing those pros and cons and figuring out what the market's calling for too, because
exactly. What's the demand for that property in particular? Both Mo and I have a tremendous amount of experience working with distressed properties in different states. There's been a few incidents where we had to go in and we realized that we had to do a full remodel of the home. There might be some foundation issues, there might be some paint, or, just bringing up to date and some fresh life into the property. There's a difference of variations there, but again, we kind of work together to figure out what is the best case scenario for that client. Do they have the capital to go ahead and invest back into the property? Would it make sense to even invest the money? And what would the return be at the end of the day?
Right. That's the number one thing to do after running the environment is that sheet. Yeah. What are you going to walk away with? Sometimes it's even not worth investing into fixing it, just sell it as is, even if it's not as distressed. But
all right, Mel. Well, I have something I need to ask you.
Okay.
Tell me about the rat house.
Oh my God, the rat house. Okay.
Those are one of my favorite stories, by the way.
Story time. So I talked to this client and he says, I need to sell my house. Come look at it. We set a date. All I know is the location. The house hasn't been sold in a very long time. So there's nothing on the MLS. There's no reference point for me. But I know the area, so I run rough, comps. I pull up to the property and it's already distressed on the outside. Every bedroom has an window AC unit, boarded up.
Was this in Austin proper? Were you more in a country setting? Where were you?
It was in Georgetown, and it was minutes from the square. So I'm thinking,
very cool area.
Very cool area. Yeah. This could be an amazing little Airbnb, even though it was less than 1,000 square feet. But there's a lot of very charming old homes in that area that are fantastic.
For those of you that do not know what Georgetown is, if you guys are from Austin area or you guys live here, I highly advise you going there during the wintertime. If you're a fan of Gilmore Girls, it looks like their town square there. It's
Yeah.
very cute. It's very small town vibes, but they have a lot of like locally owned restaurants and
Mhm.
bars, and I think it's pretty unique as to the area because,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, we do not have a huge amount of culture out here in the Southwest in particular. We're still relatively new to the U.S.
Yeah.
In terms of how developed we've been. So
Yeah, there's
we-
so many markets.
Exactly.
And they have all kinds of events. I love Georgetown. So anyhow, so I have these like great expectations, right? I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so awesome. And I pull up to the house and I go, oh God, no. And I see the outside. I get out of my car and I can smell ammonia from the driveway.
What did that mean to you? Someone's cleaning really hard?
Animals.
Oh, animals.
Not the cleaning kind.
Not the cleaning ammonia.
Not the cleaning
Urine.
ammonia, urine. And the windows, it had like big
Wait,
windows.
you could smell that?
Oh, you're right. My nose doesn't work, and I open my car door. I'm like, oh, there's like a punch in the face, right? Oh my goodness. So, and then I start looking, and the siding is rotting, and all the signs, and just like my bubble just completely deflated extremely fast. But I knock on the door. This super sweet old man opens the door. We have a conversation. I see the inside of the house, and I go, mm-mm. Can we talk outside? No, come on in. So long story long, rat infestation in the house that I didn't realize at first. I mean, the house, I could hear my footsteps walking on the carpet.
Uh-huh.
They were squishing and sloshing from all of the cat urine.
Okay.
I had a hard time breathing. He wanted me to sit on the couch. I like hovered over the couch. My abs were killing me the next day because I did not want to. I made it look like I'm sitting down, but I didn't want to like.
So you did like a public toilet hover.
Yes.
You couldn't touch.
Because the couch was soaked, and it was just the most awful experience. But he was the nicest, sweetest old man, right? So I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I get out of there. We get everything going from there on. We met at a library or at a coffee shop. But I bring investors because this home is going to cost, you would have to take all the drywall down, everything down to studs. The repairs would be just possibly not worth it, right? So I'm like, I can't even photograph it. It is in such bad condition. The horror movies look like that. I bring an investor. And I'm walking him through, and we open the furnace closet. And as we open it, it's like, I don't know who's seen Joe's Apartment. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It's about cockroaches in New York. It's really funny.
Oh, I would absolutely not even watch it. No.
I open the furnace door, and it just turns brown because a sea of roaches start coming out. And I go, okay. And I just close the door thinking, gosh, I'm not one of those.
So sorry to disturb you, Roaches, Mr. Roach.
My bad. You should have left sock on the doorknob. so I closed the door. The investor didn't blink either. And then we're walking around, and I see, I hear, scurrying noises. And I go,
sound like my dog's nails on the floor.
Yeah, very close. So I say to my client, I was like, hey, what's that? And he says, oh, those are the rats in my walls. Excuse me? And he moves like some stuff off the side of the couch, and he goes, "Here, you see that hole? Oh, and then there's that hole over there, and there's one by the fridge." And they're like, almost like somebody got angry and punched a hole in the wall. And he's like, "Yeah, that's where they go in and out."
Did he name
so
them?
we dubbed it the Rat House. He doesn't know that, but we dubbed it the Rat House because it was in such poor condition. But oh my gosh, on top of that, it had probate issues. But we're not going to get into that today.
No.
No.
Where did he end up relocating to?
He ended up buying a chunk of land outside of town and a little bit in the country and putting a mobile home on it.
Okay.
So fresh start, new mobile home.
Yeah, and sometimes you just need a fresh start.
He needed a fresh start.
And
it gets so far that you can't dig yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And when you're on a retirement budget, you can't financially. It just becomes so overwhelming.
So at the end of the day, you were able to get an investor in there. You were able to get him a good deal on the property where he felt comfortable that he made some money off of there to potentially fund the duration of his time period left.
Yeah, absolutely. It helped him buy an RV, or I'm sorry, a mobile home. And it worked with a wholesaler,
Mhm.
right? So for some people who may not know, a wholesaler will bring you a pool of investors to look at the house. So it was almost like an open house. It was a big revolving door for
Yeah.
about an hour. Investors were just going in and out, groups of them just cruising the property, and we had an offer on the spot. Never
Mhm.
had to go on the market, and client was happy, the buyer was happy. Everybody, it was a smooth
Yeah.
transaction, all things considered, but it was a spicy one.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I think a lot of people forget our elderly out here, and those are for the people that maybe don't have kids or don't have kids that maybe they talk to anymore for various reasons.
Mhm.
Yeah, but oftentimes they might be sitting on a home that's worth a good amount of money, and that's all they have left to their name. Yes, I did have a client like that beforehand as well in Lago Vista.
That's
Yeah, do you remember that
right.
property?
I do.
Yeah, it was a cool property, had great views of the lake. It was a smaller home. It was like 1,700 square feet, but this woman was really cool. She was an activist that lived in Chicago and had like a wild life. And I was remember when I went to go see her property, she was showing like this massive photo book of just her life, and it was one of those like moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this woman is a piece of history. She has
Right?
done
You just want to have
so
coffee
much.
with her and
Yeah,
pick
and
her brain.
learn. And she was unfortunately didn't have any children and had no family left to really take care of her.
Mhm.
And the duration of her time period, she had used up the sum of money that she had in retirement,
Yeah.
and the only thing left was maybe $10,000 to her name and the home that had been in complete distress.
Not quite as bad. No rats in
No,
them.
not quite as bad. It was
But
just very dated, needed a new roof, quite a few other things in there.
yeah,
I think when I evaluated the property, I want to say it was only worth about 400,000 on as is, and then when we renovated it, it would have been like 560 for the property. So it was a nice
Mhm.
property with a good piece of land out there in Lago. And essentially, I was able to help broker a deal with the wholesaler as well. That made sense
Mhm.
because we we didn't have any money to reinvest in it. She didn't
Right.
have a whole lot to get maximum return, and she was fixing to go to a fixed income senior retirement center. And as a part of that deal, because it was a fixed income, she had this asset. She had to sell the asset in order to get approved to move into this
Right.
facility.
Right.
And she was at the point in her life where she couldn't take care of herself anymore
Yeah.
as much. And I remember just constantly checking on her. And Lago is kind of far from where I live. It's a good hour, but I was checking on her like 3 times a week, making sure that she was okay throughout the entire process. And we were able to broker that deal that made sense for her. And the lump sum of money that we got on her property actually was able to fund the rest of her life.
Right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I got a call from a social service person about a year ago, and they did let me know that she had passed away. And they were trying to get in contact with her next of kin, who I happen to have some paperwork for. So I was able to assist them in getting in contact with them, but it was unfortunate. It was an
Yeah.
unfortunate situation, but I was very blessed and appreciative of my time I got to spend with her and interact with her, and just get to know someone else's
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a very cool
Yeah.
moment, but she was able to live the duration of her life that was left in a good facility that she felt
Comfortably, thanks
comfortably.
to you helping
Yeah,
her.
and I
Yeah.
had checked on her every few months until she had passed away in her facility, just checking in on her. I think I brought her like some dinner a few times just to come check in on her. And
Yeah.
she had this little cat that was cute too.
And I
But
remember you were pretty concerned at one point because you
yeah,
couldn't get a
because I
hold
couldn't
of
get a
her.
hold of her.
And you were not closed on the transaction yet. So
Exactly. I mean, beyond the transaction, I was just more worried about her.
sure.
And she couldn't internet very well and all the
Right.
things. But it was a cool process to be a part of, and it kind of took me out of like my sales role.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there was a lot more above and beyond that you had to do for that particular client that you had to adjust for, but it was the right thing to do, I would say.
And it's even more gratifying. Like
It was
our
more
job's already
gratifying,
gratifying, but
but
those moments.
I would say I feel like our destinies aligned at that point in time that I know what my morals are, my ethics are, and I know that was a good person to work with for her because I was not going to take advantage of her.
Yeah.
I was ensuring that she was getting the best deal possible while still protecting her assets and her best interests and really protecting my client, because when you're working with someone that is a little more delicate, have to take extra precautions to ensure that, one, they're super coherent, that they can understand everything,
Yep.
and two, that you're ensuring that you're setting them up correctly. And even after that, we had she had a CPA, and we were talking to the CPA, making sure that everything was in line with her, and she had a living trust, all the things that you can think of. But very cool individual.
Yeah.
Still very fortunate to have met her in my lifetime.
Cool stories. So those are kind of almost beyond repair distress that we had to find a wholesaler and get rid of that way. So then there's the next step, right? Those that are distressed, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a solution.
And that comes down to analytics. Do the numbers make sense, right?
Right.
For those type of properties, we'll come in together. We'll assess the entire property, current state as is, and then we do a few different variations. We do a moderate investment, which can be like a semi remodel, just putting a little lipstick on it, making it a little bit more up to date, and feel like it would sell in the century.
Most of the cosmetic things, right?
More cosmetic things, meaning that you don't really have anything structural that needs to be done. It just needs some updating.
Right.
Yes. The other variation that we kind of give them is going to be a complete remodel, where we come in and we bring it up completely to today's standards. Sometimes that includes structural things, mostly cosmetic, including flooring, a new roof, all the things that proctor into a new property to make sure that it's sound and safe for the next tenant to take place. And gratefully, we have quite a few experiences with those.
We do. I mean, that's how that was our trial period.
Yeah, before we got married. Yes.
Before we got married, I was like, "Can we do this?" And oh boy, we rolled up our sleeves and got to work.
Figuratively and literally.
Absolutely. That was a very fun one.
Yes. So before we decided to break off from our previous team and create our own team together and our own business, Mo and I had some trial marriages where we took on 3 different clients and we remodeled their properties together to ensure that we can have a good working relationship and that we can still come home together at the end of the night and stand each other's faces.
So these clients had already left the state. We are no GCs or anything by that nature. So we were just kind enough to help them since they had already left the state, to kind of introduce them to the right people, make all the right connections, and give them all the right advice, and kind of keep eyes on the situation while they were away. Yeah,
and what that entails completely is going to be introduce them to a few GCs, or they can bring in their own if they have someone that they work with, and having complete oversight over the design process with them, working alongside both the owner and also the professionals that they choose to hire, and ensuring that we're staying up to date on the timeline.
Right.
Timelines are super important, especially when listing properties, especially more so whenever you're in the suburbs, because we work on more of a seasonal platform out here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And how fun, right? Who doesn't want to renovate their house? And we get to do it.
Not with our money.
Right. But, not with our money, but we get to be like, money. Oh, how about this color and this fixture and this hardware? And oh my gosh, it was so fun. And we were so proud. It was like our baby when it was done. We kind of looked at it and went, oh,
I mean, the first property that comes to mind, introduced to that property by one of my previous clients who I met through some mutual groups of friends. And again, somebody that I'm super happy to have met and appreciative. And I remember before I even walked into their properties to come and do a pre-assessment of it, they stopped me and they said, "Hey, Val, I'm sorry for what you're about to enter into. I had manic depression for multiple years. And as a result of that, my house shows. It's completely distressed. There's a lot of issues with it. And I'm so embarrassed and I'm so scared. I don't know who to turn to right now. And you are an ally, you're a friend. I know that you can help me with this without judgment." And that's what I did. I went in there and I looked at it. I was like, this is actually not the worst home I've ever seen.
Right.
So you're in luck there. But secondly, we knew exactly what to do. We went in and we assessed and we helped them through that entire process. It turns out that home had some foundation issues. We walked them through that process as well, ensure that everything was fixed with that.
Thank goodness they had a budget.
Yeah.
They were able to afford all the fixings.
They were very fortunate enough to have a good amount of money in reserves that could accommodate such a renovation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because not everybody could have afforded tens of thousands of dollars.
Exactly.
To just go,
that is not in everyone's budget. Yeah. But we worked together tirelessly. Mo and I were there for days at a time.
Every day.
Yeah. We actually demoed some stuff ourselves as we were waiting for our GCs to come in, just to help with the process. And we hired, the junk removal companies and all the things that were required in order to make this property move. But by the time we were completed with it, it did not even look like the same property.
It did not. It was so fantastic. I mean, we pulled carpets.
Yes.
Not because necessarily it was our intention to replace the floors, but kind of like to assess the damage, right? Because that's when we realized there was some foundation issues. We saw some cracked tiles and kind of followed the line and went, ooh. So we pulled tiles, we pulled carpets, we got some trash out of the house. So we did some really good work for your clients. It was so fun.
And we, as soon as we kind of had an indication of, foundation damage, we pulled up the carpet, like Mo had said, just to investigate a little bit further to see how far we saw it go. And then we called in a professional. That is not our job to go and assess that. We definitely recognized that there were some telltale signs. And as soon as we had someone out there to inspect it, we were able to align with the correct companies on behalf of our client and make sure that that was all rectified with warranties.
Right.
With
absolutely.
warranties that were transferable as well. So important literature there for you. And at the end of the day, we turned over a really good product that we felt was in safe and good condition for its next tenants to move into.
The showing reviews are all fantastic. We staged it. So then you have the situation where it can be very similar, but the owners don't have the budget. So fortunately, we are currently with Compass, and Compass has a program called Compass Concierge.
Yes. Compass Concierge is a really cool program where it allows the seller of a property to take up to about $25,000 to do a renovation on the property. There are some stipulations to that, of course, but if you qualify, it's a really unique program that you can do. And also, they don't charge you until you're at closing.
Right. And it doesn't count against your debt to income. So if you're trying to sell one home, fix it up and sell it and buy another one, you kind of doing like a contingency situation. It doesn't hit your credit score. It's just a really cool program. So for people who are like, okay, well, I need to put all brand new floors and repaint the house, but I don't have 20 grand. We have situations where we can assist. And you know what, even then, if it's not with Compass, I've worked with plenty of contractors, surely you have as well, that are willing to just get paid at closing.
We've done quite a few. We've done some for roof. We've done some for flooring. It just varies, and it depends on that agent, the agency relationship that you have with that company.
With the vendor,
that makes a huge difference too, because quite often vendors that have not worked with you before will not allow that, because it's like a line of credit. It's a trust credit, right? What is that person's closing ratio? Have I closed X amount of deals with them? Some reassurance to ensure that they're going to get paid at the end of the day. Because deals can go awry.
They can, but it's really nice because it gets paid from title company, gets the invoice, and they pay it at closing. Nobody touches the money, and it's super clean. And so there's, with a creative agent, even if you're not using a program that a brokerage provides, this is why we have great relationships with our vendors. So that's another scenario.
And then I guess the last situation that we really want to talk to you about is hold. When does it make sense to hold? And again, it comes down to market analytics and the property and how distressed the home is and what your return would be for any sort of investment, right? One that comes to mind for me is I work with a good amount of investors that are landlords, and quite often when you have tenants in properties, they do not take the best care of your property. They do not care for the home like you would. So after some time, you'll have some distress of the property and have to do some upgrades eventually. So general rule of thumb is about 5 years. 5 years until you had to either turn over the property or reinvest back into it to ensure that.
More than just painting.
Exactly. More than just
carpet cleaning.
Just the standard carpet cleaning and paint, like in order to bring it up to whatever the current standard is for that time period. Right. So
so I have that rental with a cute little bungalow in the back that's in Austin, and it's been a rental now. It's going to be its third set of tenants. The owner lived there since the 90s. It's paid off. She's moved out, used it as a rental, right? Well, it's in one of those heavily gentrified neighborhoods where a lot immediately across the street now, because you can subdivide it into an A and B. It has 2 brand new beautiful homes on it. They demoed the home, brand new beautiful 2 homes that are selling for 1.5 and 1.2. So this lot combined is bringing in $2.7 million if it sells at listing price. But let's just say for the sake of numbers, right? My client right across the street is renting hers out. I would call it distressed if I was selling it.
Okay.
right? Because
Because it's old and not up to code,
it's
essentially.
old.
Yeah.
It's from the 50s. It's
Yeah.
pier and beam. You can feel it. The
Yeah.
floors have seen better days. It's one of those very cute, traditional, tiny little under 1,000 square feet homes in Austin on a nice, healthy chunk of lot. Well, my client knows she needs to dump a significant amount of money to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want to,
Mm-hmm.
so hold. Let's
Yeah.
call it, is the situation we're going with. She's going to keep renting it out,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also going to list it as a private exclusive on our Compass platform with a make me move price.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows what she wants for it. She may not get it right now. So
Yeah.
in the interim, she's going to keep renting it out because she also doesn't want to invest. So she's holding
Mm-hmm.
the pattern she's in right now. But in the background, we're trying to still find it a buyer. And if the right person comes up, fantastic. If
Yeah.
not, the hold stays and she'll keep renting it out until.
What's the Compass exclusive?
So Compass Exclusive is essentially a pocket listing. Compass has over 20% market share in Austin area. So anybody that works with a Compass agent has a Compass app and can therefore access all of these private listings that are not on the MLS. So these are either listings that are distressed properties where the clients are embarrassed to have it online.
Mm-hmm.
There are sometimes there's celebrities that just don't want to publicly put it out there. Or sometimes they're like make me move prices,
Mm-hmm.
or they're even coming soon. So there's a tremendous amount of inventory that is in this little hidden pocket that you can list it out there and you can get an offer without it ever being on public, on the internet platforms, and it keeps it a lot more private.
Okay.
So the
But-
transaction is still the same as far as the legality of it. The process is
Mhm.
the same.
Okay, so essentially you have it on a private listed service that's only accessible to Compass clients,
Right.
or on a Compass platform because it's brokerage owned, essentially.
Correct.
Right. So it's a little bit different. So it's not on the public MLS service where everyone in Austin can view it regardless of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anybody,
Mhm.
consumers that work with Compass agents,
Mm-hmm.
and all the Compass agents have access to that.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that Compass is a national company. So with that being said, you
Right.
have some viewership across the entire US potentially.
Absolutely.
If they have access to the client portal to review, and they might just be poking around in the Austin area like looking for new
Mhm.
investment opportunities. And
Yeah.
if they know much about it, they might be able to see that that could be a cool investment for them.
Well, and another neat thing about that is
Mhm.
when you have a listing, like let's go back to the little place with the bungalow, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to list it parallel. Sometimes you list it parallel, right? For sale and for lease and
Yeah.
see what bites first. But if you have it listed for sale and your day counter the clock keeps ticking, it's
Mhm.
like 10 days, 100 days, 200 days, a year in the market, right? That's negative. It's always negative. People
Yeah.
go, why is it not selling? What's wrong
What's
with
wrong with
it?
it?
Sometimes it's just the price, realistically, but sometimes it's something else. On the private exclusive, there's no clock.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's available. How long has it been available? I
Yeah.
don't know. It's available now. You want
It's
to
just
come look
kind
at
of
it?
there.
It's,
Yeah.
it's there. Come check it out.
That's really cool. I have a client that is actually interested in that as well. They actually completely remodeled their property. It's a gorgeous home now, just over 3,000 square feet in a very desirable neighborhood.
Mhm.
And they're in the process of finishing up their pool, but I went and visited them 2 weeks ago, and they walked me through their property, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is completely a different home. They took everything down to the studs, to the foundation, kept up 2 walls so that it can be remodeled in Austin,
Mhm.
and completely just blew it up. It's an amazing home now. But I'm very excited to kind of chat with them about some options to
Yeah.
potentially list on a private exclusive because they don't really want to move, but if they got a certain number, they would be more enticed to.
Well, it's funny, right? Because it seems like they found exactly what they were looking for. But now that they're seeing the neighborhood interest and what the market is doing, now they're kind of going, well, maybe we can sell and do it again.
Well, that's the thing. You never know where your life's going to take you. But the cool thing is when you mingle with people and you create a cool atmosphere of people and advisors around you, you can always seek that help that you need, and your life will change, and so will the
Plans
people
will
with you.
change.
Exactly, and they're able to assist you through any sort of process in that life change. Yeah, one thing that comes to mind as well, as I mentioned, investors are typically who I'm working with, but one of my people I just went to go and view their property for this week, and they were interested initially in listing it to lease a property.
Mhm.
And I walked it with them just to kind of check for any damages, anything I would recommend for them to, update before any sort of new tenants come in and just assess where we're currently at. And it's actually in pretty good shape. It's a little dated, but the neighborhood's extremely desirable. I pulled data for that neighborhood, and literally there are no homes for sale that meet the same criteria within the last year. You have to go back 2 years. And it's a micro neighborhood, so you can't really bring in data from other neighborhoods unless they're very similar. Yeah. So it gets a little harder when you're comping out. But the cool thing is that anything that has been on the market in that neighborhood has gone in 2 weeks' time in the last 2 years. So that indicates that if we were to list it either for sale or for rent, it's going to go really fast.
Right.
And as I'm having this conversation with this guy, he's like, listen, Val, I only bought it X amount of years ago and I paid $150,000 for it. It's almost paid off. He's like, it's kind of getting to the point right now where I either had to invest a lot more money into it and then upkeep, and I'm not really looking to be a landlord anymore, but I can. Is it going to make sense to sell right now? Or should I wait, hold it for a little while, and sell for a better investment time period? There's a couple things that factored into that. One, yes, it's extremely desirable neighborhood, but as to where it's at, not many people are looking for that size of bedrooms, that number of bedrooms anyways. Typically, people are looking for 4 bedrooms in this particular neighborhood by the stats that's showing us. So that would be an issue for him. And kind of looking across the way, I was like, I think you're kind of maxing out value right now. You're in a rare scenario right now in our current time, in our current market. When everything else is down, you're up.
Yeah.
It might make sense for you to sell.
There you go.
But you can also hold it if you'd like, because you owe virtually no money. You're actually net positive on this per month, which is something that is very rare to hear out here in Austin. There are not a huge amount of investors or people that own additional properties as landlords that can net positive right now. But
unless you've owned it for a very long time.
Yeah, but sir, like you have options. A lot of people do not have these options.
And he still let you remodel a little bit.
Yeah. So actually, he's going to let me remodel a little bit. I sent him over a couple of different design plans that met different budget points, and we're going to see what makes sense for him.
Yeah.
But I think he might actually want to list it, which would be in his benefit right now, which it would be very surprising for our current market out here.
Yeah. It's one of those situations when you go run a CMA and you're like, oh my gosh, nothing has sold here in so long. It makes our job a little more difficult to pull comps, but at the same time, you're like, yes, that means it's a good neighborhood. It's desirable. People move in and keep it because they love it. It's not quick turnarounds are kind of concerning, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, this is going to be a little more work on the front end, but this is going to be great for our clients because this is the supply and demand, right?
Yeah, supply and demand. And like I mentioned, like stats have a lot to do with it. So when we're looking at numbers, like some people like to do like price per square foot, which I don't think applies very often, especially in our market. It's all over the place. But in certain areas, bedrooms make the biggest difference for people. And in this particular neighborhood, he's maxing out at value only because he has a 3-bedroom versus a 4-bedroom. So I cannot project any sort of additional earnings that he can get based on the number of bedrooms that he has, where he's located at. I'm like, sir, you're kind of at your max value right now. So this might make sense if you're thinking about doing it. It's a cool scenario to be in for him. It's been a long time since I had a client that can do that. Most people are just like, how do I break even? How do I take my investment out and change into a 1031 exchange if they're even lucky to do that? But there's a lot of processes for that.
I'm excited to see that one and how that one develops. I think I might have a buyer.
Oh, we love buyers, so that's totally fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's so many different scenarios, right, when it comes to properties that are not in pristine condition. So, and we have seen so much. So, I guess that being said, clients shouldn't be nervous. I understand the pride and the embarrassment, but been there, done that. No judgment. Life happens, situations happen. We've seen some really bad. I don't think there's much that can surprise us anymore. I mean, from vermin and pest infestation to artificial body parts,
personal massagers.
So Satan worshiping membership. We've seen it all.
Yeah.
We don't judge. Life happens. We all have our own likes and dislikes. And it always ends at the closing table. So knock on wood.
But I think you're completely right. I think the average person out there, your home is really your safety net, and it takes a lot of bravery to allow someone into your home. to see how you live, to see the truth beyond the mask. And we're very happy to be a part of that journey with you. And I know it can be a little scary, but trust me, we have a solution for you, whatever it might be. Yeah.
Absolutely. We love doing it. So you know where to find us. And if it's a distressed property, it doesn't mean there's not the right buyer out there for it. So we got you.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Until next time. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ad Astra.